Hello everyone, welcome to my little coding vlog. I'm an indie app developer based in Oslo, Norway, and in these vlogs I share my days with you as I'm working on my app, but we also have some tech content here and there. In this vlog we are going to learn the nitty-gritty details of how macOS handles keyboard events, and we will even reprogram the power button on my iMac to do something completely different. But let's take it one step at a time. Today is a beautiful day, so I decided to get out a bit, take in the fresh air and show up for work. I don't really have a big professional studio for filming, so I record my vlogs wherever I can, and typically that ends up being a bakery or something like that. But it's not very crowded today, so it's going to be a nice and quiet place to work. I just recently got the new M5 MacBook Air, so today I'm excited to test it out some more and get a feel for how it handles my usual work. So right at the start, I just needed to do a hard git reset on some experiments I did and pull in the latest changes. I try to do as much of my coding as possible live for your entertainment. But what are we working on today? Recently, I found something unexpected in my codebase. A piece of dead code, which really surprised me. So, quick question. Do you know what an event tap is on macOS? Wait. Let's not burn our eyeballs with this light mode. So, what's an event tap? In macOS, an event tap allows you to listen to global system events like mouse moved, mouse up, mouse down, and also keyboard events, as you can see here in this function that simply prints them for debugging. However, I discovered at some point, who knows how long ago actually, that I figured out how to detect system keys like sound up, sound down, next previous, and even the power button. So I thought today there must be something useful that I can do with these events. But why does my app even listen to global events like this anyway? My app is a macOS utility app that's a window manager with customizable shortcuts. It has a clipboard history feature as well, and also this one keyboard cleaning feature which relies heavily on this event tab. So using the event tab, I can also block certain events. So in the keyboard cleaning mode, I'm blocking all keyboard and system keys. So then you can clean the keyboard without any worries. And so I don't really distinguish between the system buttons anywhere in the codebase except in the debug print function. And I wanted to make it possible to bind keyboard shortcuts to them as well, just to see what will happen. However, there is a problem. The system keys live in a completely different namespace, so to say, from the other keyboard keys. So the key code that is reported by macOS for them kind of clashes with normal key codes that you would get from regular keyboard events. So to avoid this problem, but still keep backwards compatibility with my existing code that handles keyboard shortcuts, I came up with this idea to map them to a different range by applying some kind of a hard-coded offset. Now, this is very important to get right, since the keyboard shortcuts are saved on users' iCloud, and I can't change my mind later about this mapping because it would break all the saved settings. So, just as a sanity check, I added some more debug prints and started bashing different keyboard buttons to see what key codes will get reported. The idea was to get a feeling for the general range that they fall within, so that I don't accidentally map my custom system button key codes in the same range. And then I realized that maybe I can minimize the chances of this happening by maybe choosing a negative value. But I'm not really sure about this, and I'm wondering if you guys have better suggestions. And then I spent some time just going through the code and trying to decipher the weird data encoding that I wrote probably like 2 years ago at this point. And what's even worse is that the event type is also encoded somewhere in this bit mask. So I realized I have to parse not only the key code but also the type of the event as well from this weird data. And then finally, in my event handler, I can replace the reported event type with the one that is parsed and fully resolved from the system keys as well. Why does Apple make it so obscure and difficult to work with? I really don't know. But the best I can do is place some debug breakpoints and see if this mess of magic strings and constants actually works or not. So then I started pressing the system keys, and for some of them I did get a valid key code, but some still weren't getting recognized correctly. But for those that I was able to scrape the key codes, I wrote down the key names manually. And I know that expose is not really spelled this way, but we can tackle that later. And I am running low on battery, because I did a lot of back and forth with this key code detection, but I just want to test it out one last time because I think I kind of have it working. So here, I was thinking about creating a new multi-window layout, which is also a relatively new feature, and the idea is to assign the system-defined expose key to trigger a layout instead of the default system behavior. So the moment of truth. And it kind of worked, which made me smile. Now, is this feature useful? Maybe. I find that I almost never use the system keys apart from the volume and brightness controls. So I don't know, why not take advantage of them? But since my battery is almost fully gone, I decided to pack it up and continue working from home on this one. I think it would be a good opportunity to test the keyboard shortcuts on a different keyboard and also on the iMac. A lot of people ask me if I'm Norwegian, since I live in Norway, but I'm not, and one of the things I struggle with is learning the language, because for years as a developer I worked in a 100% English-speaking work environment, and then I switched to working for myself, which is also 100% English-speaking, at least for work. So I've been playing around with making apps to learn, and here I'll show you one I made using ChatLLM by Abacus.AI, which is the sponsor of today's video. ChatLLM by Abacus is like an all-in-one AI platform where you can make full-stack apps, run agents to help you with tasks like social media posting and anything else you can imagine. So I entered a relatively vague prompt to see what it can do without being overly specific. I just asked for quiz questions, translation practice, and progress tracking. It was very convenient to work with AI on this particular app because it can also generate practice questions right there. So it first wrote all of the examples and seeded the database, and then it proceeded to write the actual code, and within a few minutes I got a nice and clean app, and I loved how I can test out the responsiveness right on the platform. From there I played a few quizzes just to verify that it's working, then I looked at the database schema and other settings, and finally I deployed it. So later that day I played a few more questions on the phone, and for a single prompt and no more than 5 minutes spent on this, I think it's very cool. So if you guys are looking to build an app or prototype something, or even run an agent to complete tasks for you, check out ChatLLM by Abacus.ai using the link in the description. Alright, so getting back to it. The first thing is obviously to commit all of my code and transfer over to the iMac. I'll make a new branch for this because honestly, I don't know if I should really ship this feature or not. But if you guys like it, we can make some arrangements. And then for the moment of truth. Hitting the expose button on the low free keyboard and it doesn't work. So it turns out that the low free keyboard, in contrast to the built-in MacBook Air keyboard, doesn't invoke the correct key code for the expose button. But instead it simulates pressing Ctrl and up arrow, which is fine, but we're not gonna let that stop us this time, because I really want to test out if the power button will work with this new keyboard shortcut system that we have. So let's assign a new keyboard shortcut. I gotta move this a little bit to the side to get a better view, and it worked. Honestly, this is kind of hilarious. But let's try the full demo. Man, this is one useless feature. But it's a cool party trick, I guess. What would be a good use of the power button shortcut? Maybe I can make it play a sound or something. You guys let me know down in the comments, and if you like this video, if you like this style of exploring and coding, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.